going on, everybody? We got some great news coming our way as Vikings fans, as the NFL salary cap is expected to increase a ton over the next 5 seasons. What's going on, guys? My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome to the Vikings Now. Let's just dive straight into it. So Brett Coleman, a pretty popular NFL YouTuber, tweeted this out that other day, and I thought it was incredibly interesting. He said the salary cap is going to explode again, and it's all because of the change in how Nielsen measures ratings. Starting this year, they are leaning into using data directly from smart TV manufacturers to measure viewing habits in addition to the traditional at-home panel method. This means NFL ratings, in particular from Sunday Ticket on YouTube, are going to be more accurately measured. And that number is going to be way bigger than you think because of just how many Gen Z and millennials consume football and streaming services. More accurate ratings mean the league's next broadcast rights negotiations in 2028-29 is going to be way more expensive, and this is the kicker, which ultimately means massive jumps in the salary cap. So I think the Vikings this free agency period are going to get ultra aggressive, and that's why you guys need to hit that subscribe button, because if we get any breaking news during free agency, I mean, I was making videos last free agency in a bathroom at a bar. That's how dedicated we are to getting you guys the best content out here on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, lock us in. Don't miss a thing around your Minnesota Vikings, and help us reach 53,000 subscribers. All right, let's talk about this here. So the NFL salary cap, how it's been increasing over the last 5 years. So back in 2021 COVID year, it actually dropped 7.9%, but then we saw the uptick in 2022, up 14% to $208.2 million. 2023, $224.8 million, a 7.9% increase. Then we saw a massive jump last season to $255.4 million. And originally, it was projected this year's salary cap to only have an increase of 6.6% at $272.5 million. But we actually just got word that that number is actually going to be higher. Shout out to Nick Underhill for tweeting this out, saying teams were informed to expect the 2025 salary cap to settle between $277.5 to $281.5 million next season. That's a huge jump and will benefit the Saints immensely. This guy's a Saints beat reporter as well. That's why I added the Saints part in there. But where does that leave the Vikings salary cap in effective spending in 2025? Now we're up to $63.1 million. Now, originally, this number was floated out anywhere to 57, 58. Some places had the Vikings at around 60, but the overall consensus number I'm getting in terms of how much the Vikings have to spend is $63.1 million. But also the Vikings are in a very interesting spot where they can take that number and they can increase it with just some easy moves. But in terms of Vikings spending this year in free agency, I could see Kwesi, like, he could push the money into the future to help add players in free agency now. And that could be done by restructures, or already the way they set up the Jefferson and Darisaw deal. Those are backloaded contracts. With the salary cap going up, the Vikings are in a really good spot. And I could see them almost maybe, hey, some free agents will front load the contract, like Trey Smith. Let's just say they give him the 5-year, $100 and whatever it is, $1 million deal. What if they front load that and then also go get Milton Williams? They backload that contract. They could get really creative here to try and take advantage of J.J. McCarthy on this rookie deal. But some cut candidates. How can the Vikings create more money? I think these top two are guarantees to be cut. Brian Asamoah, rotational linebacker, special teams guy, made a couple plays this season, but I think he's going to get cut to save $1.43 million. Also, Ed Ingram, I think that's a guarantee. You save $3 million by cutting him. But this is the kicker right here. Garrett Bradbury. I am not sure if they're going to cut him, considering there's not a lot of good center free agents out there besides Drew Dalman. And if you cut Bradbury and you don't re-sign a guy like in free agency, like, you're putting a lot of pressure on you to use one of those first, 3 picks in the draft to go get a center. So I think these two are locks. Bradbury, TBD. But if they do cut Bradbury, watch out for Drew Dalman becoming a Viking. But they can also create more cap space by restructuring 3 of the blue chippers on this team: Brian O'Neill, Jonathan Grenard, and tight end TJ Hawkinson. Now, Hawk, people have been throwing out the idea of, hey, maybe the Vikings trade him, maybe the Vikings restructure him. Well, I think it's more likely that he gets restructured over anything. We'll share those details here in a second. But first off, on Grenard, the Vikings could actually save $13.85 million if they restructured his contract. If I had to pick any one move the Vikings are going to make, it's probably this. Now, it does create a 8.4, or his cap hit's only be $8.5 million, which is awesome. Honestly, shout out to Kwesi for this contract. Looking back on the Grenard deal, one of the biggest steals in the National Football League, going to be around $18 million for the next 3 seasons, and he's a blue chipper at the edge spot, so I love this. But you could also have some big-time savings with restructuring his contract. Now, Brian O'Neill, on the other hand, his cap hits around $26 million this year. I don't expect him to play on that. I think he'll be probably the second most likely restructure candidate for the Vikes, but you would save an additional $8 million. So if you just take the 13 from Gennard, the 8 from Brian O'Neill, you're already up to $21 million plus the cuts. That's an extra $4 million, not even including Bradbury. So you take the $63 million figure, add $25 million on top of that. The Vikings have a whole lot to spend. Now, the only thing about O'Neill is if they are going to decide to potentially cut him next offseason, you wouldn't want to restructure him, but I don't think the Vikings have that idea in their heads right now. I think they want O'Neill on this team. Great locker room guy. He's been solid at that right tackle spot, coming off one of his better years this past season. But what about TJ Hockenson? So he's got around a $17 million cap, or $16.5 million cap hit this season. If they restructure his contract, you can actually save $7.37 million, and his cap hit would then get lowered to $9.27 million. So what we were just saying, Vikes are at 63. You restructure Gennard and O'Neill. You're adding, and you cut those two guys, you're up to $25 more million. Then if you restructure Hawk, that's an additional $7 million. So the Vikings could damn near get up to $100 million in free agency spending this year. And what's my best argument to make to guys like Hawk, Gennard, and Brian O'Neill? You want these two to return to the biggest pieces of your team this past season, Cam Bynum, Byron Murphy. You go restructure your deal. That's what I would be saying to some of these top dogs on the Vikings team right now. I understand you want to get paid this year, but you could also convert that into signing bonus and still get them the same cash flow this season. But if you want Cam Bynum and Byron Murphy to return, you got to restructure those deals. But let me ask you guys this on Cam Bynum, because I've seen some ludicrous numbers thrown out there. Like originally he was supposed to sign a $12 million deal. Now I'm seeing upwards of $17, $18 million per year for Cameron Bynum. Would you extend him? What say you? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down below in the comments section if you guys would extend Cam Bynum. Now, coming up next on the show, let's just go over some more free agent targets with the more cap space the Vikings are getting from this big-time news from the NFL. I'll tell you guys about that here in a second. But before we do so, I want to give a major shout-out to today's presenting sponsor, and it's Public Rec. I'm actually rocking one of their sweatshirts right now. Super comfortable, and we got a sweet deal for you guys right now. If you guys use that code CHAT20, you guys will actually get 20% off at Public Rec by using that promo code CHAT20. So this February, treat yourself right because comfort is always in season. Upgrade the Public Rec and feel the difference. For a limited time, you can get 20% off at Public Rec by using code CHAT20 at checkout. Just head to publicrec.com, use code CHAT20, and you are all set. And all right, guys, let's be real for a minute. Nobody's got time for stiff, uncomfortable clothes anymore. You know what I mean? It's February. It's cold outside, especially in Minnesota, and you deserve to be comfortable in whatever you're wearing, no matter what you're doing. That's where Public Rec comes in. These pants are a game changer. Their pants are designed to be as comfy as your favorite sweats, but way more stylish. We're talking super soft fabric, no stiff seams, and enough stretch to keep up with whatever your day throws at you. And Public Rec isn't just about pants. They have so many great style options, whether you're working all day in the office, running errands, or just grabbing a drink with the guys. Who doesn't want to look sharp without sacrificing comfort? And I'll tell you, once you put them on, you're going to wonder why you wore anything else besides Public Rec. So treat yourself this February to comfort, because comfort is always in season. Upgrade to Public Rec and feel the difference. For a limited time, you can get 20% off at Public Rec by using code CHAT20 at checkout. Just head to publicrec.com, use code CHAT20, and you're all set. Oh, and when they ask how you found them, be sure to mention our show. It really helps us out. But find your perfect fit and never compromise on comfort again. Public Rec, where comfort rules. All right, so with the Vikings potentially having around $100 million in cap space, let's just go over some of the big free agent targets. Now, we've talked about the guys like Trey Smith, Milton Williams, a whole lot on today's show, but this class is deep at multiple positions, and I really think the Vikings are going to be aggressive this year. So let's start off with the biggest issue for the Vikings, and it's been the biggest issue for the last couple of seasons now, and that's the interior of the offensive line. Now, you got the big dog, Trey Smith, who was supposed to get an absolute bag in free agency. But then you got my guy, Willie Fries, got hurt last year, but still very solid at the interior of the offensive line. Then you got Tevin Jenkins, a guy who's also dealt with injuries, but he's got some top-end talent. Then you got a plug-and-play guy who could potentially get a one-year, $6 million deal, Kevin Zeitler. James Daniels, another okay option. But Mekhi Becton, apparently the Eagles are going to try to re-sign him, but if they don't, I'm all in for bringing him back. But then you got Brandon Scherf, Patrick McCarry, Aaron Banks, and Will Hernandez. But I think the Vikings are in an interesting spot at the interior offensive line because you could go all in on a guy like Trey Smith. No doubt about it. I'd be thrilled if the Vikings signed him to a mega deal. But also, you could say, hey, we're going to go throw some money at another position. And then we go plug and play with guys like Zeitler, Brandon Scherf. We could just get them on one-year, $6 million deals. And then if you do that, you could toss a lot of money at the interior of your defensive line, which is another huge need for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, my guy is Milton Williams, who you guys see second on the left hand of your screen. This guy's a freak, entering the prime of his NFL career. Great pass rusher from the interior, and actually love the combination he would have with Harrison Phillips. So you also got Osa Odigizua. He's a stud. He's hitting his prime too. He's got a great pass rush win rate. But B.J. Hill, Calais Campbell, somehow Calais Campbell is still kicking it at almost 39 years old. But Jaron Reed, Poona Ford, Tershawn Wharton, he had a monster playoff run for the Kansas City Chiefs. T.R. Tart, D.J. Jones as well. So, the Vikings are in an interesting spot because let's just say we get the breaking news. Oh, snap, they're signing, Milton Williams to a 3-year, $65 million deal. And then let's just say then they go plug and play at the guard spot. I wonder if the Vikings are leaning that direction. But also this year in the NFL draft, the interior defensive line class is absolutely stacked. A lot of big-time names on the back end where the Vikings could pick up somebody in the 3rd or the 5th round. But another big position group for the Vikes you got to address here is the cornerback spot. Now, big question mark on Byron Murphy. He's one of the top free agent options at the cornerback position, and teams will be aggressive trying to land him. But is he going to get $22 million, $23 million? I don't know. And you still got guys like Stephon Gilmore, Jonathan Jones, Nate Hobbs. Those guys you guys can call in August just for a one-year deal. But let's just say Byron Murphy walks. You start shifting your attention to guys like DJ Reed, Vikings coaching staff, very big on him. Charvarius Ward, Rasul Douglas, Carlton Davis, big fan of Carlton Davis. I mean, us Vikings fans know the number he did on us as a Lion this past season. But also Asante Samuel Jr., he's going to be less expensive than Byron Murphy, so I like that option as well. But with all this extra cap space, who's a free agent the Vikings need to sign? You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. If I had to go one, if I was watching this video, I'm going to probably go Milton Williams. I still think that's my guy. I think he's got all types of potential, and I think the Vikings really need that guy at the interior who can get home to the quarterback. So I'll go Milton Williams, but you guys let me know your thoughts down below. Now, if you guys also want to hit me up on Twitter, that's a handle right there, @PatSieps. Give me a follow over there. I'll give you guys a follow right back, and we'll see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.